I heard that you had a major epiphany about marriage.
I did. I did. And that was really freeing as well. I I sort of discovered, I knew, but I sort of was able to finally sort of stand up and say, I don't want to get married at all. And I feel like
you said that out loud.
I said that out loud. I said it to everybody. I said it to my family. I said it to my friends. I said it to anybody who asked, which feels obvious and, maybe silly or something to people who are married or people who are older, or people who've been through it. But if you're a woman in your 30s or 40s, that's a big deal. Everybody's asking you all the time if it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. If you're dating anybody, they're definitely asking you about it. It's a big...
First they ask, are you dating?
Yes.
Then particularly if you're a famous person. First, are you dating, who you're dating? And then the moment you're dating more than a month, it's when are you getting married?
Yes.
How close is the relationship? There's a lot of pressure on that.
There's a huge amount of pressure. And the desire to want to get married, it's a lot like the desire to want to have children in our society.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to want it. And if you don't want it, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me. And I always knew, I'm one of those people, since I was 5, I could tell you I was going to have kids. I could tell you I was going to have 3. I could tell you they were going to be girls. But I have never wanted to get married. I never played bride. I was never interested. I don't know what it is. I never wanted to get married. I love having boyfriends. I love dating. I do not want a husband in my house. And I don't know what it is. I just don't.
The clip that you just heard was from an interview that Oprah did with Shonda Rhimes. And as the title of this video suggests, when they tell you who they are, believe them. It's something I've been saying for a very, very long time. Black women really do not want to be under the leadership or the guidance of black men. They don't. Black women get married out of necessity or because they are pushed. Most black women do not want to be under the leadership of black men, and they never have. You go back to post-slavery. Black women have never wanted to be led by black men. Sojourner Truth, which all black feminists, really black women for 150 years have always championed with their Ain't I a Woman speech. That's how come a lot of black women did not want black men to get the vote. They didn't, because they didn't want black men to be elevated over them. In 1920, the same thing. In 1965, with the Kerner Commission with the Moynihan Report, they did not want a so-called black patriarchy because black women didn't want to give up power. I played that piece from James Earl Jones in my Myth of White Womanhood series. He said the exact same thing. Over and over and over, this theme is repeated. Black women want to lead the black community. They always have. I was just talking to Dr. Johnson because he assigned me this movie, Lackawanna Blues. And after I watched it, I reported back and I turned in my assignment to Dr. Johnson, and I was saying the Lackawanna Blues was actually a story about the 50s and 60s. And I asked Dr. Johnson, did it look like black men were leading black women? Did it look like it? And he had to say no, they didn't. I said, did it look like black women really being nice to black men? He had to say no. Another book and movie he assigned me was Their Eyes Are Watching God, which was written in the 1930s by Zora Neale Hurston, talking about her experiences in her own hometown. And most of the things she was talking about was at the turn of the century. Did it look like black men were leading black women? Black women submitted to black men that could help them. They submitted to a role of being a wife. They never submitted to their man. They weren't even nice to their men. They performed their duties as a wife, which is something that we've lost over the past 40 years, but they never submitted to black men. Black women have always had an air of superiority over their men. Always. I don't care what piece of literature you pick up, what movies you watch, what era it is, black women have always had an air of superiority over black men. They submit to the role of wife, not to the man, to the role of wife out of necessity. And when they didn't need us anymore, or the necessity of being a wife wasn't there anymore, guess what they did? They didn't choose it anymore, which is a real reason the marriage rate is so low. Black women really don't want to be married. That's how come they're the lowest married and the highest divorce. Black women get divorced more than any other group for frivolous reasons, and they get married the least. And all Shonda Rhimes did was actually exemplify that in just a small snippet. She actually exemplifies the spirit of how black women think and how black women feel. So when they tell you who they are, believe them. Oprah is in the same vein. Her and Stedman, even though they've been partners for 30 years, maybe about 30 years, they never really lived in the same household. Stedman's being her paramour, her boyfriend for ages. Shonda Rhimes says, I love boyfriends, but I don't want to live with a man. And as the role of wife became more and more unnecessary, guess what you're seeing? What do you see now? The marriage rate for black women will probably dip even further. That's how come the bar is so high for a black woman wanting to be a wife of a black man. That's why the bar is so high. Because black women not only don't see value in you, but they don't see value in being married, period, to anyone, which is counter the narrative of the rest of the world. Maybe the rest of the world is now catching up. Maybe it's the infrastructure. They're catching up to how black women feel. There's something at the end of Their Eyes Are Watching God, in the book, not in the movie. I don't know why they didn't put it in the movie. They put it in the book at the very end, where Zora Neale Hurston says, the freest people in America are white men, which is obvious, and black women. Why? Because they do what they want. Black women are not doing what they have to. Black women are doing what they want. When they talk about black love, they talk about Africana kinship, where they can go from man to man to man, have babies from different groups and still get their children taken care of because they never wanted to be under one man. So I don't care how alpha that dude is, a black woman will get bored and try to go to the next man. Look at the celebrities. How many marriages of successful black men actually last for more than 20 years or last more than 15 years? Why? Because black women really, for the most part, have never wanted to be married or under a man. It was a role born out of necessity. Shout out to Warren Lance, pimp guy. He'll tell you black women are not married to you, they're married to the game. And when the game was to be a wife and play the role of a wife because of what a husband can bring to her and the lifestyle a husband can bring to her, she's with the game. When she could do it for herself, guess what? She wasn't with the game. When people tell you who they are, believe them. So shout out to Shonda Rhimes. She's at that age, in her 50s, where she can be perfectly honest. What does she say? When I was 5 years old, I wanted children. I wanted 3. I wanted them to be girls. I never wanted to be married. I never put on a wedding dress. I never thought about my wedding day. Even black women that do want to get married, it's not about the marriage. My sisters, they've been married. It's not about the marriage. It's about the wedding day. With black men, it's the opposite. Black men could care less about the wedding day. It's about the marriage. And most black women want to get married at least once. Why? To get the monkey off their back. I know black women that have gotten married early, had a couple kids, left their husband, stayed married, and kept their married name so that they wouldn't have that stigma on them. No, tons and tons and tons of black women, I do mean tons, that have gotten married, kept their married name, and never got divorced. Why? Because they always wanted the status of marriage. They didn't want a husband. Vivica Fox said the same thing when she got married. She stayed married for 2.5 years. Did she ride through it? No. She got married because she wanted to have that wedding day. And she wanted the status of wife. And once she had that, if she was looking for a reason to get rid of her husband. Am I saying it's right or wrong? I don't particularly care. Like I said, I am an amoral pragmatist. I don't care. Whatever strategy, solution people choose that's right for them, God bless them. What I don't like is this lie and this bullshit, excuse my French, that black women pass around, blaming black men for why they're not married. When the real secret is they don't want to be married in the first place, which is something I have said. There's no way you could be the least married and the most divorced and want to be married. When I was younger, I used to have girlfriends, and I had girlfriends that had been married. I had girlfriends that liked being married or said they liked being married and got divorced a couple times from a couple of husbands. And they said, I want to get married again. Why? I like being married. So how come you didn't stay married with your husbands? Well, it didn't work out. That's always the case. It didn't work out. So you think I'm going to line up? You get 2 guys got shot behind you that you divorced, and you think I'm going to line up to be the third? Are you insane? And black women are insane because they think we're insane. Black women think that we are simps. And we're supposed to believe everything that's coming out of their mouths. And they treat marriage and partnering like a game. That's how come they line up on Kevin Samuel's show every night talking about marriage. They're not talking about marriage. They don't care about being married. They care about the lifestyle, if they can get a guy to pay for their lifestyle. It's the game. They don't want to get married to a man. They want to get married to the game. And just like a monopoly, they want as many chips as they can find, as they can qualify for. That's how come they get mad when you say they don't qualify. It's like telling them you can't play in this game, or there's only a level that you can actually play. It's like in the casino, there's certain rooms that you got to have a certain buy-in, and certain tables that you got to have a certain buy-in just to sit at that table. And it has a little sign, okay, you got to have a buy-in of $10,000 to sit at this table. And if you ain't got it, you need to go down to the $5 table. In fact, that sounds pretty good. I think I might use that in the video. But anyway, like I said, when people tell you who they are, believe them. When black women tell you who they are, believe them. I played so many clips from black women where the mask has slipped and they told you who they are. And they whine and talk and give you that pushback so you can go back to sleep. Ignore the man behind the curtain. Now, you didn't just hear it from some common chick, some common five, right? Some chick that ain't got no money. Or some chick that's trying to go on the come up. Heard it from Shonda Rhimes, right? Billionaire, damn near billionaire. She should be a billionaire. Tell you from the very early on, she never wanted to be married. Sitting next to a woman who's also a billionaire that tells you the exact same thing. She never wanted to be married. How many male billionaires are not married? How many female billionaires are not married or have never been married? The freest two groups of people in the United States are white men and black women, because they do what they want. When black women tell you who they really are, believe it. Why? Because their actions, the statistics, their actions, their talking points all add up to the same thing. They don't want to be married. You just had a YouTuber. Went cross country to have a baby. Never talked about marrying the guy. But they accuse you of making single mothers because you won't marry them, which is bullshit. They never wanted to be married in the first place. Black women want to be married to the game and not to the man. If nothing else you get from this talk, remember that. Remember the words of Shonda Rhimes. Let that sink into your head. Let that sink into your soul. And next time a woman talks about berries coming out of her mouth, play that clip for her. How to explain this. Two women, not one, two, the same interview, think exactly the same way. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. I can't tell you how many women in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s that I know in Los Angeles that are not married and will never get married again. Why? Because they didn't want to get married in the first place. Anyway, brothers, stop listening to those shaming tactics that black women use, because don't let them use sign language on you, because they suffer from shame, guilt, and need to be right. That's the only reason they want to get married. But anyway, I'm gonna jump off of here and add this to the collection. But that casino idea sounds like a pretty good idea. I might do a video on that because that's really interesting. But anyway, this is BGS out. Now I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.